Our big focus this afternoon is also on the Supreme Court's indictment of BCCI Chief N. Srinivasan. In fact, we've managed to get a response from Justice Mudgal, who spoke exclusively to Headlines Today's Suman Ray. Let's listen in.
The Supreme Court has made some strong observation on BCCI's role and also the fact that N. Srinivasan cannot continue as the president if they want to probe the IPL fixing and betting matters as well. With me is Justice Mudgal, based on whose report the Supreme Court has made the observation. Sir, the first question is the Supreme Court's, how do you see this observation of Supreme Court?
I believe it's an observation. It's subject to the response of the BCCI, and I believe the case is listed day after tomorrow. So you will come to know on day after tomorrow what happens.
Absolutely. It went for almost a year that, you continued for this entire, you made so many people appeared before you, so many testimonies, so many, they deposed before you. All that now stands in a way, the observation, according to the observation, in a way that stands vindicated.
Well, it will be vindicated only when the Supreme Court passes a final order. It is subject to the arguments of both the sides. And secondly, it's not been a year. We started somewhere in November, and it was within 4 months we finished our report. So it depends on the Supreme Court entirely. I mean, I can't say anything whether I have been vindicated as yet or not, or the report has been vindicated as yet or not. But the report is being considered, and that I think you should do well to await day after tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. But as of now, the observation made by Supreme Court are unprecedented and in a way very strong, because it reflects on a certain aspect of the functioning of the BCCI.
Well, that's what the parties to argue. I mean, you see, our job was to submit a report on a factual finding and make some recommendations. We have done both. And now, whether it is justified, our findings are justified, will depend on what the Supreme Court ultimately holds.
What happened in Supreme Court today was more or less whatever your observation and in fact whatever you said or recommended, that was more or less reflected on that only.
But I wasn't in the Supreme Court, so I wouldn't know what was reflected or not. But sometimes oral observations should not be taken to be the final decision. The final decision will come on day after tomorrow, after the parties are heard. So I think you must keep that in mind.
But the fact that your report talked about the question of the dual role, or that aspect has also talked about by the Supreme Court. I mean,
I think by dual role you mean conflict of interest.
Yes.
Look, conflict of interest are not within the terms of our reference. However, many persons who deposed before us repeatedly stressed upon it. So we only recorded what they said, and we had brought it to the notice of the Supreme Court. It's entirely for the Honorable Supreme Court to decide whether the conflict of interest should also be gone into, because it was not in the terms of our reference. I'd like to repeat that.
But it seems that based on that's probably the most important aspect, as well as Gurunath Mayappan's role in it. In your report has indicted him as based on the evidences you said clearly that it seems that Gurunath Mayappan is guilty. Based on that, Supreme Court is perhaps going to take a
subject to what the BCCI said. BCCI has raised objections to our report. The Supreme Court will consider them before passing any order.
Sir, you also talked about that the names of the players should not be, revealed. The 6 names. But Supreme Court also took that very seriously as well, because
our idea, we did not want the names to be revealed because the investigation was not done. Merely because somebody speaks about a particular player doesn't mean his name should be revealed. It can hurt an innocent person also if the name is wrongly taken.
But so when you said the names not be revealed, that you also implied that the further investigation should also be carried on.
So that's what our report says. That it requires further investigation.
And also based on that only Supreme Court has said that these are very, very serious allegations.
Perhaps. I can't say because I wasn't there in the Supreme Court.
So day after tomorrow, it's a big day.
Yeah, please follow it up. All the best to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.